That was the exact thought running through my head over and over last week, during what was supposed to be my engagement rehearsal dinner. But let me back up a bit. This didn't come out of nowhere. It was building for months, maybe years. I just didn't want to see it. Or maybe I saw it and hoped love would fix it. Either way, I'm done being the guy who swallows crap just to keep the peace. I'm Ethan, 35, tenured professor, book nerd, raised by a single mom who did everything for me, everything. My mom, June, passed away 2 years ago. Cancer, brutal, slow, cruel. She was a nurse, community volunteer, financial lifesaver for more people than I can count, including Ava's family. Yeah, we'll get to that. I met Ava 6 years ago at a faculty panel. She was a guest speaker, talking about digital philanthropy, or whatever influencer version of charity she was repping. Ava was magnetic. She smiled like she knew exactly how to make people fall in love with her. And I did. She made me feel seen, like I wasn't just the awkward bookworm with lecture hall coffee breath. The first year, amazing. She'd laugh at my dry jokes, show up to my lectures, even made videos, hyping up my work. I thought, damn, maybe I really found someone who gets it. Spoiler, I didn't. A year ago, I proposed. It felt like the right thing. My mom had passed, and Ava had helped me through that grief, or so I thought. Looking back, she was just present, physically, but emotionally, she was just doing the minimum. The check-the-box kind of support. No depth, no real care. But I was too broken to notice the difference then, last fall. Her parents, Colleen and Richard, got more involved in our wedding planning. That's when things started to sour. They own a chain of cosmetic clinics, very respectable on paper, but in reality narcissists in designer clothing. They acted like they were royalty, and I was some scholarship kid marrying above his league. Your mother was strong-willed, Richard once said, smirking over wine. She meant well, just a bit much, don't you think? Ava laughed. I should have walked away that night. My mom co-signed a loan to help their clinic when it was about to tank. She rewired their books, got them into the black again, and they never once credited her. They never even paid her back. She didn't want repayment, she wanted integrity. A simple thank you, acknowledgement. She never got it. They smiled in public and erased her in private. That's who they are. 3 months ago, I suggested we include a small tribute to my mom at the wedding. Just a candle or photo at the ceremony. Nothing dramatic. Ava blinked and said, "Weddings are supposed to be happy, Ethan." That's kinda sad. I stared at her. She's my mom. I know, she said, scrolling her phone, but people don't come to weddings to grieve. Right there. That should have been the flashing red light. But I chalked it up to wedding stress. I gave excuses, again, like I always did. Last week, we had the rehearsal dinner. Colleen and Richard insisted on hosting it at this ultra-bougie rooftop restaurant in downtown Chicago. They made such a show of how generous they were. This is the kind of evening people talk about for years, Colleen bragged to Ava's followers in an Instagram story. Not about us. About them. When Ava and I arrived, something already felt off. The guest list. Over 50 people, and I recognized maybe 6. Most were her brand partners, board members from her parents' clinics, random socialites. My side of the family. My dad, my sister, and 2 cousins who drove 8 hours to be there. I pulled Ava aside. "Why are there so few people from my side?" She rolled her eyes. "Babe, your family's small. We had to fill the seats." "Don't make it a thing. I should have made it a thing, right there." But again, I swallowed it. Then the speeches started. First, Richard. He grabbed the mic like it was a TED Talk, talked about how Ava had always been exceptional, how she elevated everyone around her, and how she was choosing to bring Ethan into that orbit. Into her orbit, like I was a stray moon lucky to be near her glow. He threw out this line. We weren't sure at first. Ethan's grounded, practical, a little too humble. But maybe that's exactly what Ava needs. A balance, a tether. What the hell, a tether? Then Colleen followed up smiling like a damn news anchor. She said Ava had grown so much during this relationship and had taught Ethan how to navigate our world. I almost spit my drink. Then she added, "We all know how helpful June was. She certainly had opinions, always involved, always inserted herself. She helped when we didn't even ask." People chuckled. Ava did too. That laugh, God. That laugh felt like betrayal in stereo. It was subtle, but I saw it. A few people glanced at each other, some clearly uncomfortable, but Colleen kept going. And even though she's no longer with us, we hope her enthusiasm won't be too strongly inherited. Another laugh. Ava leaned over, whispered, "They're just being funny. Don't take it so seriously." Funny, mocking. My dead mom is funny now. That was the moment, the point of no return. I sat there, hands shaking, face hot. I looked around, saw my dad's clenched jaw. My sister, blinking hard, trying not to explode. No one on Ava's side looked surprised. This wasn't a slip, it was a performance. And Ava knew the script. I stood up. My chair scraped back loud enough to kill the laughter. Colleen froze. Richard raised an eyebrow. Ava whispered, "Ethan, sit down. Don't make a scene." I looked right at her. "You let them do this." You laughed. She went pale. "It's just a dinner." They were kidding. Kidding about my mother, the woman who saved your family's business. I turned to Richard. "You owe everything to her. And now you're up here, treating her like some punchline screw that." People started murmuring. Phones were out. I knew they'd try to spin it. Make me look unstable, sensitive. But I didn't care. I needed to say it. Not just for my mom, for myself. For every time I swallowed something bitter to avoid conflict. "You're not just disrespecting my mom," I said, voice shaking. "You're showing me exactly who you are. And who I'd be marrying into. I'm not doing this. This wedding is off." Gasps, real ones. Someone dropped their fork. Ava stared at me like she didn't recognize who I was. Good. I barely recognized who I'd become trying to please her. I walked out. And this is just the beginning. Last week should have ended with a celebration. Instead, I walked out of my own damn engagement rehearsal like it was the last day of a toxic job. No fanfare, just disgust, heartbreak, and the clearest clarity I've ever had. I didn't go home right away. I walked. For hours. Through downtown Chicago, in a suit that didn't fit anymore. Not physically, but symbolically. That night changed everything. Ava's betrayal wasn't just a bad decision. It was a mirror. I finally saw what I'd been avoiding. I crashed at my sister Megan's place. She didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer, threw a blanket at me, and said, "You did the right thing. I'm proud of you." Still, I barely slept. My mind kept playing it back. Ava, laughing her mom's fake smile digs. Richard, smirking like he owned the goddamn world. I kept hearing their voices mocking my mom, twisting her generosity into a joke. That night, I promised myself something I wouldn't let them rewrite her. Not in that room. Not anywhere. The next morning, my phone was an absolute circus. 78 unread messages. Text after text from Ava. First confused, then angry, then begging. "Ethan, can we please talk?" "You overreacted. I didn't know what they were going to say." "This doesn't have to be the end. Seriously, you're going to walk away from all we built. You embarrassed me." "Embarrassed you, girl, what?" I ignored them all. Then came the messages from her parents. "Richard, you're being dramatic. That kind of behavior reflects poorly on everyone involved. We need to move past this." Colleen, "Ethan, darling, let's not destroy a beautiful future over a few silly words." June wouldn't have wanted that. "Oh really, Colleen, you're dragging my mom's name into this, like you didn't throw her under the bus 12 hours ago." Screw that. Then came the relatives, people I hadn't spoken to in years, sliding into my DMs trying to play mediator. A few even accused me of ruining Ava's image. Her image. Not our relationship, not our trust, just her brand. And that was when the anger started turning into something else resolve. Ava finally showed up at my apartment that afternoon. I didn't answer at first. Watched her through the peephole. Mascara, smudged hair, pulled back still in the same expensive rehearsal outfit from the night before. She looked cracked. Not broken, just like someone who realized the mirror cracked, but still wanted to save the reflection. I opened the door but didn't let her in. "I just want to talk," she said, voice all breathy and apologetic. "Please." So I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. She looked surprised, probably thought I'd cave. She started off slow. "I didn't know they were going to say that stuff. I swear, I would have stopped them if I knew." I tilted my head. "You did know. That's how they talk. You've laughed at their jokes before. You never stopped them then." Her face fell. I was scared. "They're intense. I didn't want to make a scene." "Yeah," I said. "You just left that to me." There was a long pause. I could feel her getting defensive, but trying to hold it back. "Ethan, this wedding, it's not just about them. It's about us." No, I said. See, that's the problem. It was never really about us. It was about optics, controlling narratives, making sure everything looked good from the outside, even when it was rotting underneath. She started crying at that point, hands shaking breath, catching in her throat. And for the first time, I didn't feel the pull to comfort her. Because I knew what this was. Not grief, not regret, just fear. Fear of losing control. She whispered, "Can't we fix it?" I shook my head. This isn't a fix-it thing, Ava. You stood there while your parents turned my mother into a joke. You laughed. And then you tried to act like I was the problem for not finding it funny. She reached into her purse and pulled something out. A small velvet box. I thought maybe you'd want this back, she said, holding out the engagement ring. I took it. Not because I wanted it, but because I didn't want her to keep it. That ring meant something once. Now, it just reminded me of everything I ignored. I turned to leave. She grabbed my arm gently. Wait! What I said too tired for another monologue. She hesitated. You're gonna find out anyway. So I might as well say it. I took something. From your place. I just wanted, I don't know, something of your mom's. Something that reminded me of you. My stomach dropped. What did you take? I asked, already dreading the answer. She swallowed hard. The locket. The one in the little wooden box on your bookshelf. I stepped back like she'd slapped me. That locket's been in my family for 3 generations. My mom gave it to me before she died. You stole it! I didn't steal it! She snapped, suddenly defensive. I borrowed it! I meant to give it back. You took it without asking, hid it, and now you're telling me like it's some romantic gesture? Her eyes filled again. I kept it at my parents' place. I didn't want to lose it. That was it. The last damn straw. I didn't say another word, just walked past her back inside, grabbed my keys, and left. 20 minutes later, I was knocking on Colleen and Richard's stupid penthouse door. Richard opened it. Ethan, bit bold to show up uninvited. Where's the locket? I asked flatly. He blinked. Excuse me? Ava took my mom's locket. She says it's here. Colleen appeared behind him. Oh, that necklace. It's on the dresser upstairs. Ava brought it over for safekeeping. She said you two were sharing mementos. I didn't respond. I walked right in, screw etiquette, up the stairs, into the guest room where Ava used to sleep. It was sitting on a jewelry stand, like it was part of some goddamn display. I picked it up, checked it. The engraving was still there. My mom's initials. The hinge still squeaked a little when you opened it. I stuffed it in my pocket and turned to leave. Colleen followed me down the hall. Ethan, this feels like a big misunderstanding. Let's not make it worse than it is. I stopped on the stairs, looked her dead in the eye. You had every chance to be decent, every chance to respect the woman who kept your family from going under. And instead, you turned her into a footnote, a joke. And now you're trying to gaslight me into thinking I'm the problem. She didn't answer, just stood there in silence. I don't want anything from you. Not your apology, not your fake grace. Just stay the hell out of my life. I walked out without another word. Blocked Ava, blocked her parents, blocked their whole social circle, started cutting off everything. I spent the next few days sorting my stuff, deleting files, pulling photos out of albums. It wasn't just a breakup, it was an exorcism. That weekend I visited my mom's old garden, the one she used to plant sunflowers in every spring. I hadn't been there in over a year. I brought the locket with me, sat on the bench she loved, held it in my palm, and just breathed. I whispered, I'm sorry I let them talk about you like that, but I promise they won't anymore. Because now I'm done staying quiet. The following week was weird. Quiet, but not peaceful. More like the silence after an explosion, where your ears are still ringing and everything feels a little off kilter. I was trying to get back into my routine, teaching, office hours, responding to emails, like my entire world hadn't just imploded in front of 50 people and 3 camera phones. People at the university started whispering. A few colleagues who followed Ava online asked, Hey, what happened to the engagement I gave them? The same answer every time. Turns out I was engaged to a mask. That usually shut them up. Ava went full PR mode, of course. She posted some vague-ass Instagram story about healing growth and learning from life's unexpected turns, paired with a filtered selfie and a latte. She disabled comments. Classic. I didn't respond. Didn't even watch the full story. Just tapped through, rolled my eyes, and muted her account. Permanently. But the real blow came a few days later. My old friend Jordan, who works in nonprofit marketing, called me up. Hey man, he said, did you know Ava and her parents submitted that medical outreach doc to the Horizon Humanitarian Awards? I paused. What doc? The one your mom helped write, her entire framework, the video clips they filmed from your mom's mobile clinic days, it's all in there. But they edited her out, like visibly cut her from group shots. No mention, nothing. I felt like my stomach dropped into my knees. They're repackaging her work and submitting it for an award, I asked, voice tight. Yep, Jordan said, and they're fronting it like it was all theirs. It's got Ava's name on the presenter page. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I was shaking. My mom's life's work, the hours she spent doing free clinics, organizing mobile units, training volunteers in underserved neighborhoods, they were trying to pass it off as branding collateral. I hung up, walked into the kitchen, stared at the sink, and said it out loud. They're not done until they own everything she touched. And that's when something inside me flipped. This wasn't just about me anymore. This wasn't even about the wedding. It was about my mother. A woman who lived and died with her integrity only to be scrubbed out of her own damn story so some Instagrammed-up influencer and her plastic parents could win an award and cash donations. Nah, fuck that. So I started digging. I pulled up every email chain my mom had with Richard and Colleen. She saved everything. She wasn't tech-savvy, but she printed things. Dozens of pages. Memos, budget proposals, even handwritten notes about the original clinic plan, including one where she outlined exactly how to shift their business model to qualify for nonprofit grants. Her handwriting, her logo mock-ups, her ethics charter, all of it. I gathered the files, scanned everything into a shared drive, and looped in Jordan. You know someone at Horizon, right? I asked. He didn't even hesitate, already texted her. They're gonna want to see this. 3 days later, I got a call from a Horizon board member, professional firm voice. Mr. Reyes, we appreciate you bringing this to our attention. It seems there are substantial discrepancies between what was submitted and what actually occurred. We will be launching a formal review. Good. I wasn't looking for a public takedown. I wasn't looking for a scandal. I just wanted the truth to breathe. But karma has this way of turning the volume up on its own. The story broke online through a watchdog blog that follows nonprofit award circuits. Headline influencer family under fire for allegedly erasing nurse from her own philanthropic legacy. It exploded. And when people realized the nurse in question was my mom, a woman with a long-standing community rep, pictures with neighborhood kids, testimonials from patients she helped during cancer treatments, it got real. Ava's comments reopened. And oh boy, the internet ate her alive. People pulled receipts, old tweets of her praising grassroots healthcare leaders, photos where you could see my mom blurred out, side-by-side shots of my mom's actual work versus Ava's glossy rebranding. Someone even reposted that part of Richard's speech from the rehearsal dinner. Yeah, it had been recorded, where he joked about my mom being a little too eager to help. It was ugly, but I didn't gloat. I didn't post about it, didn't give interviews. I just kept my head down and taught my classes, did my work, replied to students, watered my mom's garden. I was grieving her all over again, but this time with a fire in my chest instead of just a hole. Then Horizon issued a statement. Upon investigation, we have determined the submitted project misrepresented its origins. The award application has been rescinded. Boom! A few days later, I got a letter, handwritten, from Colleen. Ethan, we understand you're upset, but this backlash has gone too far. Ava has lost multiple sponsors, and our clinics are facing PR damage. We never intended to erase June's work. Surely you can understand how miscommunications happen under pressure. We ask that you help clarify things before permanent damage is done. Colleen, permanent damage. You mean like how you erased a woman's legacy to make yourselves look good? You mean the kind of damage that never shows up on balance sheets, but destroys trust and dignity? Yeah, that kind of damage. I didn't respond. Instead, I went back to the keepsake box, the one where the locket had been. I pulled out an old voice memo. My mom used to record little diary entries when she was too tired to write. And on this one she said, I don't do this work to be remembered, but if someday someone tries to use what I built and twist it, I hope you know, baby, you have every right to defend the truth. So I did, and I wasn't done yet. I used the money I'd saved for the wedding to start a community health fund in her name. Not just a vanity foundation with cocktail galas. Real grassroots. I partnered with 3 nurse-led local clinics, got the university's social impact program involved, and launched a memorial scholarship for students going into public health. We called it the June Wells Initiative. First Instagram post. A photo of her in her scrubs, grinning with a kid on each side holding popsicles. Caption: She didn't ask to be famous. She just showed up every single day. We're here to make sure her kind of work doesn't go unnoticed again. It blew up. Not viral, but enough. Enough for people to share their stories. People I didn't even know saying things like, "She helped my grandma get her meds when insurance wouldn't. She used to drive out to the shelter with bandages and juice boxes. She taught me how to check blood pressure when I was 12. And for the first time since I walked out of that dinner, I felt something shift. Not revenge, not even satisfaction. Peace. And maybe a little power. Not over Ava or her family, but over me, over the story I was telling myself. That I was too small to fight back. That I had to play nice to keep the peace. That silence was maturity. Screw that. Silence is complicity. And I wasn't going to be complicit in watching my mom's memory get trampled, so some influencer could sell face cream. So yeah, I burned it down. But I built something better in the ashes. Something honest, something grounded, something hers. And as far as Ava, last I heard, she tried to pivot to a wellness brand. Less healthcare hero, more crystal energy, and matcha cleanses. Her parents are apparently dealing with an IRS audit related to old donation reports. Karma doesn't come fast, but it's punctual. The weirdest part, after everything blew up, Ava still thought there was a chance. About a week after the Horizon fallout, I got another knock at my apartment door. This time, I looked through the peephole and almost laughed. She was standing there, in this oversized hoodie, like she thought dressing down would undo everything. I opened the door, but didn't say anything. Just waited. She gave me this weak little smile. "Hey." I leaned on the door frame. "Seriously?" She blinked. "I just thought maybe we could talk. Like, just us." I wanted to shut the door right then and there, but curiosity's a bitch, so I stepped aside. She walked in like she'd done 1,000 times before. Looked around like maybe everything was still intact. It wasn't. I'd moved stuff around. Got rid of the framed photo of us that used to sit by the bookshelf. Replaced it with one of my mom holding a garden trowel, smiling like a badass in her sun hat. Ava clocked it instantly. "Oh," she said. "You changed things." "Yeah," I said. "Things changed." She sat on the edge of the couch, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. "Look, I know I messed up. I know my parents went way too far." I raised an eyebrow. "Went? Okay, go. They go too far. But that night I was just caught off guard. I didn't mean to laugh. I just panicked." "Panicked," I repeated. "You laughed when your dad turned my mother into a fucking punchline." Her eyes watered. "I didn't care." "I was scared, Ethan," she whispered. I stood there, arms crossed, waiting for the truth to show up. It didn't. Scared of what I asked. Scared of standing up to your parents. Scared of losing the picture-perfect aesthetic you've curated since college. She looked down. I didn't think it would matter so much what they said. There it was. I almost laughed. Right. Just words right. Just a little roast about a dead woman who saved your family's business. Just a bit of humor. "Don't do that," she snapped. "Don't act like I never cared about her." I stared at her. "You didn't." She flinched. "You tolerated her. You smiled and nodded and played polite, but you never got her. And when push came to shove, you picked comfort over character." There was silence. Long, tense, heavy. "I loved you," she said finally. I didn't blink. "You loved how I looked next to you. You loved the story we told." She didn't argue. She couldn't. "Then why are you here?" I asked. "What exactly are you hoping to get out of this?" Her voice cracked. "I don't know. Closure, redemption, something." I let that hang for a beat. Then said, "You came to the wrong place for absolution." She nodded slowly, stood up, walked to the door, paused. "For what it's worth," she said, "you're doing the right thing. With the scholarship, with the fund. Your mom would be proud." That one hit different. I didn't say anything, just let her walk out. And that was the last time I saw Ava in person. Now that I wasn't spending every waking minute angry or exhausted, I started noticing things again, like how much better food tasted when you're not emotionally clenched all the time, or how music hits different when it's not trying to drown out guilt. I started going back to the old community clinic my mom used to volunteer at. Not as a doctor or a nurse. I wasn't qualified for that, but just as help. Filing, cleaning, listening. I sat with people waiting hours to be seen, heard their stories, handed them bottles of water and tissues and phone numbers for follow-ups. One woman, maybe in her 60s, looked up at me and said, "You're June's boy, aren't you?" I froze. She smiled. She helped me after I lost my job, snuck me vitamins when I couldn't afford groceries, sat with me when my blood pressure spiked. I never forgot her. I nearly cried right there. I didn't, but it was close. And here's the thing about grief. It doesn't vanish. It mutates. You think you're done with it, and then you hear someone mention your mom's name at the grocery store, or catch a whiff of her perfume in an elevator, and it knocks you flat. But it gets lighter. Not because the pain goes away, but because you get stronger, or maybe just more capable of carrying it. A few months after the whole implosion, I got invited to speak at a healthcare ethics panel at the university. Normally, I'd say no to that sort of thing. But this one was different. The theme, integrity in impact. Who gets credit for the work? I accepted. It was surreal, sitting on a stage with 2 doctors and a community organizer I'd admired for years. I wasn't the most experienced, or the most eloquent, but when it came time for the Q&A, someone from the audience asked, "Have you ever had someone try to take credit for something personal or important to you?" I paused, looked out over the crowd, mostly students, bright-eyed, hungry for meaning, and I said, "Yeah. My mom built a program that saved lives. Gave her time, her energy, her peace to help people. And after she died, someone tried to package that work like a brand deal. Tried to blur her out of the photo and paste their own face over the top." There were gasps, murmurs. I continued. It taught me that silence helps the wrong people win, and that the best way to honor someone is to fight for their truth. Even when it's uncomfortable, especially then. Afterwards, 3 students came up to me. One of them had tears in her eyes. "My uncle was a hospice nurse," she said. "He used to talk about your mom. I didn't even know they worked together. She inspired him to start a local care fund in our town. That wrecked me in the best way." Life started to make sense again. I got promoted to associate department head, started mentoring more undergrad researchers, got back to writing. I even started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to make sure I stayed whole. Every so often, Ava would pop up in my thoughts. Not like I missed her, more like checking in with a ghost. Wondering if she ever really saw what she did, if she ever owned it. I doubt it. But she's not my responsibility anymore. Never really was. The June Wells initiative kept growing. We got 2 new grants, launched a health literacy program for teens, hired a coordinator. And when the first scholarship recipient sent me an email with the subject line, "You changed my life," I sat at my desk and cried for the first time in months. Not sad tears. Not angry ones. Just gratitude. Because for the first time in a long-ass time, I felt aligned with the kind of man my mom raised me to be. Not reactive, not bitter, not stuck. Just clear. Just steady. Just me. It's funny how healing doesn't announce itself. There's no banner or confetti. One day you just realize your shoulders aren't clenched anymore when you wake up. The silence in your apartment feels peaceful, not lonely. You open your fridge and don't feel that stupid pang of, "Oh, she used to like this brand of oat milk." Dumb things, small things, but they stop hurting. The night I really felt it, I was walking home from a lecture. It had rained earlier, one of those spring showers that smells like the earth is waking up, and I looked up. Just looked up, and I swear the sky felt like breathing room. No pressure, no weight. That was new. The next day, I got an email from Ava. Yeah, it went to my spam folder. I only saw it because I was cleaning out junk and happened to skim the subject line, "For closure, not drama." I clicked it against my better judgment. Curiosity's a bitch. The email wasn't long. Just a few paragraphs. No fancy language, no PR tone. Just her voice stripped down. "Ethan, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I get it. But I need to say something, and this is the only way I know how. I didn't handle anything well. Not the dinner, not the fallout, not you. I watched my parents hurt you, and I said nothing. I didn't stand up because I was scared of losing control over something I never really had control over to begin with. What I did with the locket, with your mother's work, with that goddamn award, I don't have an excuse. I wish I could go back and fix it, but I can't. I can only say I'm sorry. Not because I want you back, not because I'm looking for a reset. Just because you deserve to hear it from me. Not filtered, not repackaged, just me. Ava." I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't need anything from her anymore. No explanation, no closure, no last word. She was doing what she needed to do. I respected that. But I had already closed the door and locked it emotionally, spiritually, all of it. So I archived the email, not delete, just filed it under past lives. 2 days later, I got invited to speak at a TEDx-style local event for community stories. The organizer was someone my mom used to work with during free clinic Saturdays. She messaged me, "We're building this night around people who speak up when it's inconvenient." You came to mind instantly. At first, I wasn't sure. I had already told this story so many times to students, to donors in pieces during interviews and panels. But something about doing it in front of our city, in front of strangers who might be carrying the same weight, felt right. So I said yes. The event was in this converted warehouse, brick walls, string lights, folding chairs, the whole indie vibe. The audience was a mix of activists, educators, volunteers, and just regular folks. I walked onto the stage wearing jeans and my mom's old denim jacket, the one with the little embroidered pin she used to wear, people over profit. No PowerPoint, no fancy visuals, just a mic and a heartbeat. I told them everything: the love story, the lies, the public humiliation, the locket, the legacy theft, the silence I broke, the foundation we built. I didn't sugarcoat it. I didn't paint myself as some martyr or hero. I told them I stayed too long. I ignored red flags because I wanted to believe love was enough. I told them I thought grief made me invincible, but really it made me silent when I should have screamed. Then I ended with this: there's a kind of revenge that doesn't look like fire or fury. It looks like rebuilding. It looks like telling the truth when everyone else is banking on you shutting up. My mother didn't raise me to play nice with liars. She raised me to honor people, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's lonely. Especially then. So if you've ever been erased or mocked or told to tone it down, this is your permission slip. Don't. Speak louder. Show receipts. And build something better in the rubble they left behind. The applause was wild. People stood up. Clapped like they were clapping for themselves, not just for me. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just my story anymore. It belonged to every person who ever got laughed at, for being too sensitive, too emotional, too involved. Afterward, a woman came up to me, probably late 40s, tired eyes, but a soft smile. "I lost my dad last year," she said. "And when my siblings tried to divide up the will, they called me the sentimental one, like it was an insult. You made me feel like maybe that's a strength." I smiled. "It is." We hugged. One of those long, no-bullshit hugs. Back at the university, I started hosting monthly roundtables with my students. No grades, no presentations, just real talk. We called it the Quiet Room, a space where people could unpack whatever they were carrying: grief, imposter syndrome, culture, shock, burnout. The first one had 4 people. By the third, we had to move it to a bigger room. Turns out, a lot of people are walking around with unsaid stuff. Turns out all it takes is one person to go first. One of my students, Jamie Sharp as hell, and funny in that dry, sarcastic way, stayed back after one session and said, "I used to think professors didn't have lives, or heartbreaks, or dead moms." I laughed. "We're just good at hiding it." He nodded. "Thanks for not hiding yours." That stuck with me. Odd. Sometime around mid-June, I took a road trip, just me in the car, and the playlist my mom helped me make back when I first got my license. It's mostly Motown and 80s soft rock with a few random gospel songs that sneak in because she swore they cleared the air. I drove to the town where she grew up, visited the library where she used to study, left a little donation in her name, stood outside the house her parents used to own, now a rental, and just breathed it in. No sadness, just roots. The last stop was a small lake she used to take me to when I was a kid. We'd pack sandwiches and lemonade, sit on the dock, and talk about anything but work. I sat there for hours, watched the water ripple, watched the sun do its golden hour thing. Then I pulled out the locket, held it up to the light, the little engraving still scratched, still imperfect. I didn't throw it in or anything dramatic, just opened it, touched the photo, whispered, "They tried to erase you. They failed." And that was enough. Later that night, back in my hotel room, I opened my journal and wrote something simple. You didn't need revenge, you needed resurrection. It wasn't about making Ava or her family pay. It was about making sure my mom's name didn't get washed out of history. And more than that, it was about reminding myself who I am when I stop trying to be palatable. That's the final piece, I think. That's the real power. Reclaiming your story so no one else can hold the pen.